This is a BBC podcast. You can get all our podcasts and our terms of use at bbcworldservice.com/podcasts.
BBC World Service. I'm Mike Williams. Today, why do we keep pets? Are you a dog person or a cat person? And did you know that in choosing between them, you reveal a great deal about yourself, as we'll discover later here on The Y Factor. There are very, very few places in the world where you won't find pets and people sharing a home, even when the home is a small shack in an African slum.
I'm Jacqueline Kathomi. We live here in Kibera with my sister and these two kids. Here we have 3 cats.
Why?
we know I love them.
Jacqueline Kathomi lives in Kibera, in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi.
Because when we are staying with them here, there's no those pests. You can't see them here inside the house.
So what they trap the is
Yeah.
it bugs or mice or rats or what?
Yeah, rats. And those cockroaches, they trap them.
So are they pets or are they working animals?
No, they are pets. They are pets.
So domestic cats are simply wild cats that like living amongst humans.
Carlos Driscoll from America's National Institutes of Health.
Cat domestication is, I think, a little bit different than many people expect. So when people think about domestic animals, they're thinking about goats and sheep and pigs and chickens and things that have some demonstrable utility to humans. And domestic cats don't really serve any of those purposes. And so I think it's better to think about domestic cats the way we think about mice and rats and sparrows, in that we created an environment and those animals moved into it.
Until about 12,000 years ago, we humans lived as hunter-gatherers, small groups constantly on the move in search of food. Then, in the cradle of civilization, the fertile crescent around Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, 2 things happened. We invented agriculture and we settled down. All of a sudden, the cats discovered a use for us and decided to move in.
Puss.
Puss, 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 puss.
Is it a strain for you to feed them?
No, because the food that we normally take is the food that we give them.
So they eat your leftovers?
Yeah.
The thing that's left over?
Yes.
For a cat or a mouse or a rat moving into this situation, you have food, essentially provided by humans in the form of trash and wasted grain. And then you also have a level of protection, not only from the environment, but from other larger predators. So dogs became domesticated through an apparently different mechanism. The dog, or the proto-dog, would have had utility almost right from the beginning. Even if that utility was something as simple as barking when it heard a stranger approach, that would have been an important utility to people that were living very close to the ground, at night around a campfire or whatever. It would help to have those eyes outside in the darkness. So that would have been enough for people to begin provisioning wolves. People might actually throw them a bone, quite literally. So then once this proto-dog was brought into human company, it appears that they were selected very rapidly. These are animals that might have been put on a leash, and from there, it's a very short step to deciding who your dog is going to breed with.
Unlike cats, who pretty much moved in uninvited, it seems that we picked the dogs. There's fossil evidence from northern Europe that shows we were living with them as long as 30,000 years ago, possibly hunting with dogs too. And again, unlike cats, which are all descended from the African wildcat, Felis sylvestris libica, dogs evolved from a range of different ancestors, different subspecies of wolves. It helps to explain the difference between a Dachshund and a Great Dane. So we can understand how and why we began to keep these creatures, but why do we still have them in our yards and homes? It's almost universal, regardless of nationality, culture, gender and religion. But these days, most cats aren't used for pest control. Most dogs aren't used for hunting. What, if anything, do we get out of them?
I am Dennis Turner. I'm actually an animal behaviorist, but specialized...
The list of benefits we enjoy from our companionship with animals goes on and on.
There are very many health benefits of keeping cats and dogs. For instance, an increased survival rate 1 year after hospitalization for a heart attack.
They guide the blind and help cure the sick. They're used in schools and hospices and hospitals, and they can help in times of real psychiatric crisis.
The effect is stronger when you stroke your own animals. We have evidence of lowered cholesterol values and circulating blood sugars, especially in men. Far fewer complaints about minor health problems and increased measurable quality of life.
The physical benefits are clear, but there are social benefits too. Here's Sam Gosling, Professor of Psychology at the University of Texas.
There's a lot of research showing that people tend to be happier, healthier, more productive when they feel others know them. One of the reasons we have pets is in order to express our personality deliberately to others. This can be, of course, more easily achieved in the case of dogs because, A, there's a great variety of dogs, all of which have reputations and images, so we can use those to signal different things to people. If we want to tell people that we're, tough and don't want to be messed with, you get a Rottweiler, you don't get a little lap dog. The other reason is that, of course, dogs are something that we typically take out in public, so we can express those to others.
So maybe these are some of the reasons we keep pets today, for the health benefits and to help signal our identities too. But they're not the reasons people give when asked. They talk instead of love and affection, friendship and loyalty, emotive terms for intense relationships. I've come to North Wales, a place that was once a farm and is now a pet cemetery. Out on this windy hillside, there must be hundreds of headstones and memorials. There's one here to a dog called Storm, another called Honey, Patch, Max the cat, Toby and Misty too. And what's really interesting here are the inscriptions on the marble. "To my beautiful little girl," says one of them, "remembering Ginger and Fluffy, our little boys. To my baby, loved and missed and remembered." And so many of them have, at the end of the inscriptions, the words Mum and Dad.
So my name is Jason Ward, and I run Pet Funeral Services, the Pet Cemetery in Brynford in Holywell, North Wales. We are a cemetery like any other cemetery. The only difference is the family members we deal with are animal instead of human. And the people who come here to use our cemetery and our services are families who have a special bond with their pets. It's not unusual for people to describe them as being like children. It's more common for them to describe them as being their best mate. But for me, it's like a combination of your baby and your best mate all rolled into one. This is Alfie.
There's a chapel of rest here, a place to say a last goodbye, a crematorium too. The statue of an angel looks down from the hillside, and a local cleric will deliver a memorial service or a blessing. To many, it may seem extravagant, indulgent, but the intensity of emotion is obvious on the tearful faces of the people here. One couple tenderly carrying in the body of a cat in a basket, other people weeping as they collect a wooden casket with a brass plaque. People like Richard.
We just come to collect our pet's ashes. She passed away. Well, we had to have her put down on Monday because of a heart condition.
What was your pet? What was her name?
Dell. She was female, British short-hair cross, black cat. Beautiful thing. Fantastic. My last 4 years, when I sort of finished my main job and I spent more and more time at home, I got really, really close to her, She was always there and just like a little, I suppose, a little person with a fur coat. That's like I describe it. A cat. Real people with fur coats. That's it.
You say you loved the cat. Did you get love back from the cat?
Oh, yeah, she was amazing, yeah. Absolutely incredible little creature she was. Oh, yeah.
Jason, what animals do you have buried here?
We will provide a funeral for any pet, but generally the bulk of the families that come to us bring us their dogs and their cats. Lots of pets that people have, we still see them here at the cemetery, but it's with less regularity because it's difficult to bond with a creature one way. With a dog or a cat, you give it love and it give you love back.
Love. It's a strange term to use. We may say we love our pets, but they can never say, I love you too. Still, the emotional bond the humans form seems real and powerful. The elements of caregiving and giving and receiving protection help us create bonds with our children and with our pets too. Psychologists call it attachment theory, and Dennis Turner says you can see evidence of it in the biochemistry. What happens when we interact with our pets?
Within 3 minutes of stroking a dog, both in the pet owner or the experimental person, as well as the dog, oxytocin, the feel-good hormone, is released in small amounts, and it helps us bond with the animal and reduces our stress.
That's what's happening inside of us. What's happening to them?
It's also happening inside at least the dogs that have been measured. Also within 3 minutes, oxytocin is released in them, and we can only assume that it makes them also feel good. We can't ask them about it.
They get oxytocin, we get oxytocin, but we can't ask what that actually means for them. The psychologist John Archer says that it's possible in some ways that they get more from the relationship than we do.
If you take a sort of step at it, looking at the human-pet bond as a zoologist would do, you start asking, well, what are the sort of classes of relationship between different organisms where they help each other? Well, there's mutualism, in which both get a benefit, and it would seem on the face of it that the human-pet in relationship is similar to that. But in evolutionary biology, what actually counts is the reproductive success of the individuals concerned. And so a case can be made out for saying, well, actually reproductive success of the dog and cat species is vastly enhanced by their role as pets. So after all, the humans do actually provide for them. So in that way, they are mild social parasites.
So which social parasite will you choose to feed and shelter and buy medicine and toys for? Because your choice is revealing. As a child, I kept a dog. He was wonderful, insane, gentle with me and vicious to others. His name was Chummy, and I think I loved him, but he terrorised postmen and door-to-door evangelists, and he sank his teeth into a member of Parliament once. I've never had a cat.
Dog people tend to be higher on the dimensions of extroversion, agreeableness, and conscientiousness, and cat people tend to be higher on the dimensions of neuroticism and openness.
That's Sam Gosling, and those 5 traits are commonly used by psychologists to define our personalities. What does that mean? I mean, how would I spot a dog person or a cat person?
Well, you're more likely to find a dog person engaging in social interactions. You can think of it as a kind of configuration of sort of wholesome traits. These are people who like interactions, they like other people. People who are cat people tend to be, in their minds, both thinking about sort of the things that can go wrong and also just generally thinking more about stuff, just being more reflective.
Cat person or dog person. Either way, the fact that you own any pet at all may tell us something else about you, something much darker. Professor Yi-Fu Tuan is a human geographer.
And the book I wrote, the title is Dominance and Affection, The Making of Pets.
Written in 1984, the book was and still is controversial.
I have my problems with pets and the way we feel about them and treat them. But this is something so deeply ingrained in human nature that I don't see an answer to my problem. I think dominance and affection is just being human. It really comes down to power relationship. That starts with the way humans transform nature. Humans cut down forests and so on to create a world that we are more comfortable with. economic exploitation is a manifestation of power. But being able to play with another living thing could be an even greater manifestation of power, because it is not limited. That's what playing means. You are free to use your whim.
What do you think when you see someone in a park with a cat or a dog?
It's a charming picture. It's when I start to look behind what is happening, how the cat or the dog becomes a pet. I suppose the dog is a particularly good example because owners seek to control the dog and make it obey to the owner's commands. When I think of these commands, fetch, sit, or beg, these are commands that humiliate the targeted living thing.
Sit down. Sit down. Right. One here.
Professor Chuan's idea that dominance is at the heart of our relationship with cats and dogs and other pets is controversial and troubling, and it doesn't seem obvious while you watch Jason Ward throw a stick for Alfie in the grounds of the pet cemetery.
Come on, Alf!
Alfie flings himself over the fences and brings the stick back for more. They both seem to gain from this relationship. But it's certainly not an equal one. And I wonder perhaps if I'd been able to dominate and control my own pet, we wouldn't have had to put him down when he savaged another dog to death. But we did.
Dogs are a work in progress. And you try and form, and you stamp out the things in their personality and their behaviour that you don't like and encourage the things that you do. And they become a reflection of yourself.
You've been listening to The Y Factor with Mike Williams talking to Carlos Driscoll of the National Institute of Health, Maryland, USA. Sam Gosling, Professor of Psychology, University of Texas, USA. Dennis Turner, Institute of Evolutionary Biology and Environmental Studies, University of Zurich, Switzerland. Jason Ward, Pet Funeral Services, Wales. John Archer, Professor of Psychology, University of Central Lancashire, England. Yifu Tuan, Emeritus Professor of Geography, University of Madison and Wisconsin, USA. And pet owners from Wales and Kenya.
There are dozens of different podcasts now available from the BBC, including news, documentaries, science, business, arts and sport. For details of them all, go to bbcworldservice.com/podcasts.